Time for Sunspots.
We report on new solar, wind, and battery projects being built pretty much every week, and it's great. It makes you feel really good. Yeah, the world is getting cleaner energy.
But what good are all those projects if they can't plug into the electrical power grid? What I'm talking about is this. On the left was the queue for electric generation projects in the US in 2010, compared with what was already installed on the grid. So as you can see, almost 1,000 gigawatts was already installed, and about 500 gigawatts of projects were waiting to get the proper interconnect permits to join the grid. Now on the right here, we fast forward to 2022, 1,250 gigawatts of installed generation, and 2,020 gigawatts waiting for the green light.
Look at all that solar, wind, and storage just waiting to be added.
Yeah, 1,300 gigawatts of clean power and 670 gigawatts of battery storage.
Now, I hear what you might be saying. Zach and Jesse, this is good news. All these renewable energy projects in the queue, it's just a matter of a few weeks and maybe a couple months, and bam, we're going to have so much renewable energy on the grid.
Well, unfortunately, this queue is not moving that fast. According to the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, the average new power generation project took 35 months to go from the interconnection request being filed with the grid operator to getting the green light.
That's almost 3 years?
Yep. So here's a map of the different grid operators in the US and the queues for different projects waiting for permission to join the grid. Blue is storage of batteries, yellow is solar, green is wind, and gray is gas. But as you can see, that pretty much nobody is building gas plants anymore. Many of the projects give up because it takes so long. So look at this chart of the percentage of projects between 2000 and 2017 that actually made it to completion.
Wow, that's just a small fraction. I mean, why is this taking so long?
Well, that's a great question. So after doing some research, it seems like it's two things if you believe the utilities. One, because the lines have gotten so long, many energy developers file for permits all over the country to see which projects will move the fastest. And in many cases, they don't actually build the projects even when they get the green light. Utilities are claiming that this is gumming up the works. Number two, utilities say that the grid just isn't ready for all this new power. There just aren't enough transmission lines.
So why don't they just do a couple things? Number one, change the rules about filing for permits you won't need. And number two, build more transmission lines?
Well, in my opinion, it's because that's not the real problem.
What's the real problem?
Utilities don't have much incentive to bring these new projects online. Much easier to just drag your feet. Because what will happen when new renewable energy comes online? Practically free energy from the sun and wind.
And the utilities will lose revenue.
Exactly. We've seen it play out all across the US already. When homeowners put solar on their roofs in many parts of the country, the longest part of the process isn't the design of the new system or the physical work it takes to install the panels. It's the permit process. And if you're like, well, it's not fair. Where are the utilities supposed to get the money to build more transition lines? The utilities collect millions of dollars per project in connection fees, and that's supposed to go towards building more infrastructure, and they get paid by you, the ratepayer. Take a look at your monthly bill. Right there. Transmission charge and distribution charge lines. And this is generally the time in the story where it just looks bleak and where I just want to stop thinking about this and go take a nap. But we shouldn't, because that's what they want us to do. They want us to throw our hands up and go, well, I guess there's nothing we can do. Look, you have more power than you think. Pun intended. Two things you can do right now. Number one, don't stand for it. Get upset enough to educate yourself and tell your government. On the federal level, that's the FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, link down below. On the state level, that's your State Utilities Commission. And the next time a politician asks for your vote, tell them you'll consider giving it to them if they tell you what their position is on connecting renewables to the grid.
Okay, and what's the second thing they can do?
If you're able to, become your own solar generator and battery storage project. And if you have questions, I'm sure you do, reach out to our friends at Energy Pal. They'll help you figure out the best system for you. Tell them Zach and Jesse sent you. The link is down below. Meanwhile,